Hello everyone, I'm Shy and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. I would also like to apologize for not recording a video the last few weeks. Everybody in the household got sick and I actually had my 3-month checkup at the cancer center and thankfully everything is going great with that. But today I would like to talk about my mastectomy and the radiation therapy that I had after surgery. Now, I talked about before that I had decided throughout chemo that I was going to go with the lumpectomy, and that is where they only take the cancer out and they leave the breast tissue. I changed my mind because throughout chemo and with talking with other women and reading a bunch of stories, I noticed that more women that got the lumpectomy ended up having the cancer return in the same spot or in the other breast. So, I mean, statistically, it's only a 1% difference, only 1% less women have the cancer return when they get the lumpectomy, but I mean, it's still a better chance of it not returning. So, about 2 months before I was due to have my surgery, I went to my oncologist and told her that I wanted to get the bilateral mastectomy instead of getting the lumpectomy. And she actually talked with the surgeon for me. And thankfully, there was no problems with that. They changed it. And I would have been able to change it right up to a week or two before the actual surgery itself. So they were extremely accommodating with that. I was actually ready to change cancer centers and travel if I had to in order to get that mastectomy. That's how much I really wanted it at that point. So I was getting my chemo. I had started in July and it was 6 months. It ended, I think it was December 10th. And they ended about a month before surgery. So you have that month to recover, to get the chemotherapy out of your system, and they want your immune system to be up and doing well so that you can actually recover well from surgery. Now, another decision that I had to make was whether I wanted the reconstruction surgery or not. And really, I hadn't thought too much about that um, up until a few months before surgery. I didn't really, I mean, that was the last thing on my mind. But in the end, I did decide to go with the reconstruction surgery, and I met the plastic surgeon about 2 months before surgery was due to happen. And it seemed a little scary at the time. I did like the fact that when they gave you the bilateral mastectomy and they took the cancer out, that they actually started plastic surgery right there. They would put the expanders in, which are just, instead of actual implants, they're like implants that they can fill up with saline and slowly expand the tissue so that down the line there would be enough tissue to just replace those expanders with actual implants. Now, I stopped chemo on December 10th, and my bilateral mastectomy was on January 5th, I believe. And I was really scared. I was legitimately frightened. I had had 2 C-sections, but that was about it in the way of surgeries. I had never had any major surgery before, and I had never had a surgery where I was put completely under. I had had my wisdom teeth taken out, but that was more like a twilight sleep and not actually being put under. So the day of surgery came, and I was frightened but excited at the same time. You know, when they actually go in and remove the cancer and they do the testing on it, that's when they find out what stage and what grade your cancer actually was. They find out whether the chemo had any effect on it, whether it spread any farther. Um, I would get a lot of answers that I was waiting for, and they would begin the plastic surgery and putting my implants in. When I woke up from surgery, it really wasn't bad at all. I mean, I was a little groggy, but everything has gone great. Um, the one thing I did find out when I woke up from surgery as they had called my husband and let him know that the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes. It was 2 lymph nodes out of 14 under my left arm. And they just took all 14 lymph nodes, even though it was only two. So that was a little disheartening, and I was worried about the fact that it spread, but I was also happy that I had had the surgery and had everything removed. Now it was just a matter of time waiting to get my results back to see, you know, what stage it was and how everything progressed. But when I woke up from my surgery, I did have, it's hard to explain, it was like a vacuum sealed, like plastic dressing on my breast, and it was actually for the implants. Well, they were expanders at the time. And I think it was a way to keep infection out and keep the area clean. I also had two tubes. I'll actually put in pictures. I think I did have a couple pictures of those. Um, two drainage tubes coming out my left and right side, and it would have these little balls at the end, and they would fill with fluid and blood, and I would have to drain them every few hours. That was a little hard to do and made me nauseous the first couple times I had to do it. It was hard to get used to, and it was really hard to try to sleep with the dressing across my chest and the tubes coming out, because it would actually, I was always afraid it was going to get caught or pinched and the fluid wouldn't drain. And if it didn't drain, I think it would get caught up in the wound. So I was so afraid when I was sleeping. It was so hard to get comfortable. For that month that I had them in, I don't think I got that much sleep. And when I did sleep, it was a very uncomfortable sleep because I was always afraid that I was going to do something to those tubes, pull them out, what have you. I was super lucky that my family and my support system came to help me after surgery because, with the two little ones, I wasn't allowed to lift, I wasn't allowed to, clean and do my daily activities that I was so used to doing. I was expected to just rest and really just take care of the dressings and rest. So my husband actually took the month off from work, even though he was already on family leave, to help me throughout the whole treatment. And, you know, I'm glad that I could lean on him and that I had him for support. I was really lucky there. I mean, I'm also lucky that I had my mom and my sister. They helped me immensely too. So I spent that whole month really resting and taking care of the spots where it was draining, and slowly I was able to do more things, start cleaning the house, picking up the baby, playing with my daughter. But about, I think it was a month afterwards, when I had to go in and get the tubes taken out, and they were actually going to take the dressing off. When they took it off, they noticed on the left side where they had actually removed the cancer, because they had that side open for longer, that flap of skin open, It didn't get enough oxygen, so there was actually a spot of necrosis or dead skin starting in this one little area right under the breast. And they told me to put some ointments on it and make sure I took care of it, and hopefully that would just go away and heal itself. But unfortunately, as time passed, the spot got bigger and it spread. And I have pictures, and if I can get a picture of just the skin part, I will try to show you. It looked really bad, and thank God that my chest was completely numb and I couldn't feel anything because it looked horrible. And if I wasn't completely numb, that would have been extremely painful. But because of that wound there, I had to go in and get that spot of dead skin, which had gotten a lot bigger. I had to get it removed, and they thought they would have to take my expander out to allow for the wound to heal. So I went in for another surgery, and again, they put me under, and he removed the spot. And because I was really diligent in putting out on the creams and keeping it covered and keeping the spot clean and cleaning it a couple times a day, he was able to remove the spot without taking the expander out, which was amazing. So I get back home, I look, and I mean, it wasn't pretty. He had to take it, the spot of skin, he had to take a big chunk along with a piece of the nipple. So that spot, no matter what, was always going to look way different than my right side. But I'd already been through so much, and my husband loves me no matter what. So I really wasn't too worried about it, but it did look pretty bad. Um, so a couple weeks go by, and again, unfortunately, we realize that spot's not healing at all. And in the end, I did have to have another surgery and have the expander taken out because that was really the only way that that spot would be able to heal is if we took that expander out and just left the one on the right side. And we talked about putting the expander back in after radiation. I had to wait through the 28 treatments of radiation therapy and then 6 months after therapy before I could have the expander put back in. They had to wait for that spot to heal. But they had the expander taken out and it was fine. We allowed for that to heal. And as soon as that started to heal, they were going to start radiation therapy. But unfortunately, that side was extremely slow to heal. It actually pushed back my radiation therapy, I wanted to say a month or two. And it got to the point where the side was healing so slow that they had no choice but to start radiation therapy because they like to start it within 3 months of your surgery. They don't want to wait any later than that. Now, radiation therapy, I had no ideas about. I was completely blind walking into that. I didn't know what to expect. So, actually, when before you start radiation therapy, they bring you in for like a mock session and they have you get up on the machine and you just lay down and actually the machine rotates around you and actually focuses on the spots that they're going to be doing the radiation, which was obviously on my left side where the cancer was and under the armpit where it had spread to. Now, when you get radiation therapy um, for breast cancer, I'm not sure about other places, but they want to make sure that they avoid hitting any places, obviously, like your heart and lungs. So when they do the mock session, they have you put on these glasses and they put a box on your chest. And with every breath you take, you can see through the glasses, there's a bar that raises and lowers. And what they're trying to have you do is take a deep breath in and that bar will raise, and then there's a blue bar up at the top, and you want to get that bar that's raising and lowering with your breath in that bar at the top and hold. So you want to and hold, and they have you hold for like 20 seconds. And it seems easy just saying it right now, but it was really hard to do and really hard to get used to. But by doing that and breathing like that and holding it, they're able to have the machine go around you and miss any vital organs, which was really scary to me because I felt like, well, if I let go of the breath or if anything happens, is it going to hit something? But luckily, obviously, they're smart. If you let a breath out or the bar moves outside of the blue area at all, the machine stops and it allows you to catch your breath and get your breath back into that area and hold. And then the machine continues to make its rotation around you. With radiation, it was daily. It only takes about 15 minutes, but it is something that I had to go in every day, and I had 28 treatments. They were doing a test during that time where I'll cut that. The radiation seemed like it was going to be easy, but it was tough. It was tough having to go to the cancer center every single day. I think it was 5 weeks altogether. Um, and like I said, that breathing exercise is nerve-wracking and it's really harder than it seems. Holding my breath was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's nerve-wracking because you're holding your breath and this machine is going around you and making its rotations. Luckily, I got the hang of it pretty quick. The sooner you get the hang of the breath and holding your breath in that blue bar, the quicker your treatment goes. Like I said, it's about 10 to 15 minutes once you get the breathing exercise down. The longer it takes you to get the breathing exercise, the longer your treatment goes. So, with the first week and making some mistakes and not able to hold my breath in the bar, I mean, my treatments were about 30 minutes the first week, but the doctors and nurses uh, in radiation were absolutely amazing. They were so sweet and they were so helpful, and they walked me through everything, talked me through if I was nervous, and they listened to any questions I had and made sure I was completely comfortable every time I went in. They would, they actually, before you start radiation treatment, they tattoo a little spot that you're going to be getting the radiation. Um, they tattoo the spot so they can line you up when you lay down on the machine. That's how they're able to line you up so quick, is they get you on the bed, they turn on the lasers, and they line the lasers up with the spots that you have tattooed on each side, and they make sure you're in the same. That's another thing that could possibly take a long time, especially if the staff's not good at what they do, which hopefully they are, obviously. um is making sure you're lined up in the exact same position every single day. You have to be in the exact spot. The doctors and nurses come in, they line you up, they get you all set and all comfortable. They get the glasses on you and the little box on your chest, and then they go out of the room and watch you on the screen and talk to you through the speakers. And they just talk you through, you get your breath in the right spot and hold, and they send the machine around you once. They let you breathe, and they do that, I think, about 5 times, and that's it. And you come back and you do that daily. The best thing to do when you're getting radiation therapy is buy the aquifer from the baby section. And you don't want to put anything on your skin before you go in for radiation, so no lotions or anything like that. Don't put the aquifer on then. But as soon as you leave the hospital or the doctors, you want to put that aquifer on your skin, and it actually makes it so it doesn't get irritated and red and itchy, which for the most part it wasn't too bad. That's what I was really afraid of, is I was afraid that spot would be burning and that it would hurt and itch. And the most I got was a little bit of redness, and it would itch a lot, but it didn't hurt, it wasn't painful, and it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I was really scared about radiation now that I think back. I was just as scared about the radiation as I was about the chemo because it was all new to me. Um, I forgot to say, in that time, after I got my mastectomy, I actually went in and had a full body scan. They did a bone scan, and they wanted to check to make sure that the cancer hadn't spread to a different part of my body, and to just make sure that I was okay. And I remember after the scans, I actually had an app that I could look up any of my treatments, my appointments with the cancer center. So even before the doctor or my oncologist called me, I was checking that app. And I remember the results coming in, and I was so nervous and excited at the same time. And when I read the results, they had got the cancer with clean margins. It hadn't spread past the two lymph nodes that I had talked about that they had ended up removing. So it hadn't spread to any part of my body. So I was super excited. So at that point, I was considered cancer free. Now, when I ended up talking to my oncologist about an hour later, because I did still want to talk to her for her to go over the results to make sure I wasn't missing anything, she did say that the chemotherapy had not touched the cancer at all. It hadn't changed it in any way. It hadn't got it to shrink. It was the same size. Basically, all the chemotherapy did was prevent it from spreading any further, which was a bummer. I mean, to find out that I really could have skipped the chemotherapy and went right to surgery and actually had the chemotherapy after surgery, but I mean, you don't know that until it's all said and done. But to find out, because the chemotherapy hadn't touched the cancer at all, they still, even though they got it with clean margins, they still considered me having residual disease, is what they call it. And what that means is they still consider that you have a tiny microscopic piece of cancer floating around that's not visible on the scans. That they think that a tiny piece would have broken off and is floating around and going to attach to something. So, because of that fact, I actually had to do the chemotherapy pill, which I'm still on. It started off at 6 months on the chemo pill, but we actually extended it for a year, which I'm super happy about. I feel comfortable being on it. It's nothing like the IV chemo. It's super gentle and not really many side effects, maybe a little fatigue, and that's really about it. It doesn't make me sick. It doesn't make my hair fall out. It's an easy pill to take. But that's why I ended up having to do more chemotherapy, because not until you finish the chemotherapy do they consider you being completely cancer free. They want to make sure that there's no residual cancer left. Because the ultimate goal with getting chemo before your surgery is to have the chemo completely take away your cancer so that they don't even have to remove anything. But it's fine. It still worked out in the end. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing about radiation and surgery, I ended up not getting an expander put back in on my left side. I got so used to having the prosthetic breast that I'm comfortable with it now and it doesn't bother me at all. So I don't really want to go through another surgery to have the expander put back in. And at this point, because the skin has tightened and it's completely flat, they would actually have to take skin from my side to actually put the expander in, and it just seems like too much. I'm comfortable in my body now, and I'm choosing to only get the implant on the right side, which I haven't gotten yet. I wanted to wait until everything was done, all the chemo, all the radiation, make sure that my that I'm not going to have an infection or have another problem with the wound healing like I did last time. So I still have that coming up, which will be in a few months. That's when I end my chemo. Um, I think that's all for today. Again, if there's anybody out there that's going through this and you have any questions or just need somebody to talk to, I'm here, and that's really why I'm doing these videos. I'm trying to help anybody out there that might be struggling with this. So, thanks again for your time, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks. Good night.